Hi everybody, it's Amy at Crafty Cat. So I have a few things today. I finally have started making a tea bag album or journal, junk journal. And so there were a couple of things that I found. I finally found some nice napkins. I've been looking for a long time. I've done a lot of paper mache, and I've had to use like tissue paper, printed tissue paper, like I did on this egg, and I really wanted napkins, but I could never find any pretty ones, so I used tissue paper on that. So I have done the technique before, I just could never find napkins that were good. They were all like princessy or whatever. So finally found some nice napkins. So I wanted to show you because I wanted to do some napkin applique on the tea bags themselves, but as you know, they will stick together because they're so thin and porous. So I just have a little trick for that, and it might not be news to anybody, but that's one thing. And then the other thing is the way I did the album, and this also may be the way other people do them. I don't know. I haven't seen anybody do them like this, so I'm just going to show you guys just in case this is something that you might not know. So these are the Lipton, the large iced tea bags, not the little ones. The bags are a lot bigger, like for family or making big jugs of iced tea or that kind of thing. And so I have tea stained, coffee stained these. And then all I've done is like the envelope trick that everybody does with envelopes to make junk journals or mini albums or that type of thing. I just have slid one envelope into another, and I put some glue in there, and they fall apart when you tea stain them and stuff because of the water, but that's no big deal. You're just gonna put some glue in there to hold it together. I didn't try to do any fancy pockets with this part, but you could cut the edges off and be really careful how you glue it. I covered them with some paper and stuff, which I'll show you. So because I don't like, you know, like this big Lipton thing on there, but it makes a good little cover for sure. So I did it like this, and I glued this flap down flat on here as well when I did it. And then I put the tea bags in. I cut the top of the tea bag off that has the string and everything and emptied them out, and then they have that fold down the middle. I put them in this way and sewed them in that way, you know. So they aren't the same size, and if you wanted to, you could probably cut this down so everything's the same size, but I kind of liked the cover being a little bit bigger. So that's how I did it, and I took some scrapbook paper and I cut it the same size and put them in as part of the signature as well, and I'll show that all to you, but that's just how I did this. Okay, so I'm not done with this book, so I'm just going to give you a quick little peek at it is what I'm trying to say. So it says, enjoy the little things. This was some graphic 45 paper, and I put one of the napkins over it that has like a postcard look to it because I wanted this to be pretty grungy or shabby chic or whatever. I didn't want it to be super bright, and so that's why I did that way. I know it makes it a little harder to see the enjoy the little things, but I think it works. And I left the edges of the tea bags so you can see them because they did get really nice and coffee stained, so that was kind of cool. And I just put in some lace here that I'll tie when I'm done. And then on the inside you can see a lot more of that tea bag because I just covered it here, and I took a doily and I sewed it in with the one signature, but then I glued it down to the back and I just trimmed it at the top just to make that kind of lacy look up there at the top. And I put in a picture. This is the first page, and this is graphic 45 paper, but I have covered it with the napkin. Oh my goodness, I just realized that I just got a little bit stuck right there. I'll have to fix that. Anyway, so again, what you have to be most careful of if you put anything on these tea bags is to put something in the middle. And so I have some acetate, and I'm going to do one. This is the middle of the signature, and I did the little teapot and teacup. That's graphic 45, but that's an old paper set. I just had a piece left. I have such random paper now after scrapbooking for so many years, but I really like the way this turned out, and I like the way it looks with the napkin on the tea bag itself. I think that turns out cool. So what I did was I put a piece of acetate right down inside of the tea bag, which can be tricky, so give me a second here. Sorry if my in frame, yeah, okay. And I just got this off of like a package of cards or something. It was just a strip that I just cut off. And you got to make sure that it gets all the way down to the bottom, otherwise you'll have some sticking down there, like I had on my other one over there, but I'll fix it later. Okay. And I can kind of see it shining down in there, and you'll be able to see it better. But my biggest thing was I did not like this seam, and so that's what got me started on wanting to cover it in the first place with a napkin. So that's why I did it that way. But you could put them on every page if you wanted to. And I do this, I saw Artie Mays do it, and I thought she's brilliant and does amazing things. But I really liked how she did this. She just got a paintbrush wet, and I think I want a little bit of this flower more. And she just goes around kind of where she wants to rip. And this isn't going to be the exact size, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just helps the napkin rip easier when it's wet, obviously. So I really liked the way she did that. And I know a million people do this, so this isn't like, you know, real news, but I do like putting something on those tea bags. They're just tricky because they stick together so bad. A little bit of this music. And you can do this however you want, you know. If you just want to cut it or tear it or however, you don't have to do it this way. You can. It's so thin, it's just like tissue paper. Okay, so I have the plastic down inside of this one. And I do this a little different because I don't like to make my own Mod Podge and everything, so this is probably the lazy man's way, but that's the way I end up doing a lot of things because I am impatient and just, that's the way I do it. So I have a separate paintbrush and jar with water in it, and so I'm just gonna put that glue on, wet it a little bit just to move it around, and then I'm gonna take my napkin, and I did not cut my napkins perfectly off the edges either. I kind of just tore them. I liked leaving some extra hanging off, not a bunch, but just a little bit, because I think it gives it that more of a frayed, maybe torn fabric look, and I like that. So that's the way I did it, but you could trim them perfectly if you don't want it like that. And then I just put a little bit of glue on top. And I go back over it, I make sure I get down in here really well. Can you guys see okay? And I'll show you in just a minute. I'm just trying to make it nice and smooth, and sometimes I add just a little bit more glue. Just to make sure I get all the edges really well. And I know I probably should have done this before I put these all in here. I just couldn't make up my mind how I wanted to do this. And then, like I said, I found these napkins just yesterday, so that kind of helped me make up my mind. But I've just covered the whole tea bag. And then I just come along and press with my middle finger and pull off the extra. And some of it pulls off, like there's a piece of the bag right there, but I don't mind that. And there's a piece hanging extra, and then, let me see, this is the acetate. So see, I can see there's a little ridge right there. I want to leave it like that, and that's what I did with this one. You can see back here that it's hanging off the tea bag a little bit. See how it's not all even, and that's where I wanted it. Okay, and I'm going to actually take another little piece of plastic that I have and set it right here, just because it's trying to stick to everything. So, and then I have my heat gun, and you can either just walk away and leave it like that for a while, or you can use a heat gun or something, a hair dryer, just to get it dried a little bit better. And just be careful because these, as we all know, are super hot. I don't want anybody like burning down their house. And watch that paper real close and try not to melt plastic. And the plastic, the acetate is going to kind of try to stick in there, but I just take like a bone folder or a pair of scissors or something and just carefully move along the edge inside to help release the acetate when I'm done. If I can find one of my bone folders here. So I just go right next to the acetate. It's probably, of course, not going to want to do it now because I have some other glue still on there. And it really wants to stick, so be careful because, as you know, the napkin is super fragile and so is the tea bag. So I'm just sliding it right down along the acetate. This worked for me better when I wasn't on camera, of course. But just really slow, move it in there so you don't rip it. And then hopefully it will slide out. Let's see. Yep, here it comes. So I'm going to put this back in because I don't want it to stick to itself again. And you might leave it longer. I'm just trying to do it quick here. Okay. Yeah, I should have left that longer and dried it a little bit more. So definitely don't do what I just did. Definitely keep it in there longer so that it dries and you can wipe it off. Because it will eventually unstick from the acetate, because the one I did earlier was fine. It didn't have any trouble unsticking from the acetate. I just had to run this in there and then it was fine. You can also run some air down the middle. Try to loosen it up a little bit. You just want to make sure those two tea bags don't really touch, because once it's stuck, you won't be able to get it unstuck. Okay, so now you can see right down the middle, it's just about dry now. It really doesn't take long because it's so thin, but I'm just going to keep checking on it and making sure that it's staying open. Just don't let it sit together too long. Keep an eye on it. And I know that's kind of a pain, and you wouldn't have to do every page like that. You could definitely, you know, just do one or two. It's just a cool effect, I think. And I really like the way the napkin's hanging off the edges here. And also I did that on the front and back as well. Left the pieces of napkin kind of just hanging off. So I was so excited yesterday when I found Napkin that I did a page in my big junk journal that I've been working on with you guys, and so I just want to show it to you. So I just kind of did, and I did the same thing. I left this napkin hanging up, but if you don't like that look, you can totally just cut it off. But you can kind of see it's kind of hanging up out of my book. Just a whole collage page. I just was having fun. I got a few different napkins, so I was excited. And this is some pattern paper right here and right here. And I do use a lot of pattern paper when I am doing paper mache and collaging and things like that. So I think it works great with the napkins. So those are just a few things I have going on, and I might do a share again on this once it's all finished. But just a little quick idea to show you guys. So I hope you have a great day. Please subscribe.